Hello, seventh grade honor students and eighth graders. Today we are going to learn how to write linear functions, basically reading a graph or reading a word problem and using the information to write a function. And basically in y equals mx plus b, we've already been kind of doing this, so this is going to be super easy for you and it's going to be short, I hope. All right, guys, get ready. You need scratch paper. Guys, so let's read. This is an extra practice from your textbook. Remember, there's lots of great resources in your textbook for you to be able to use this, to use it properly. So you've got self-check quizzes. So remember, if you do something kind of hard before you do your quizzes assignment, you can always do the self-check quiz to see what you need to work on. And that probably would help some if you wanted to know how to bring your grade up. All right, because that would tell yourself what you know, what you don't know. All right, so let's start with this. Number one, the graph shows the distance Jeffrey is from a water fountain after a certain amount of time. Determine and interpret the rate of change and the initial value. Then write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. Assume the relationship is linear. Okay, so the number one thing you have to do on these things, because they try to trick you, is you have to pay attention to your labels on the sides of these graphs. So if you look at your x-axis, which is horizontal, so if we look at the x-axis, it's going up, it starts at 0, and it goes up by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's time. Okay, it's going up by ones. But if we look at our y-axis, our vertical axis, the up and down one, it's going up by 2s, okay? So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, so y equals mx plus b. And I know you guys are probably sick of it, but we know that y is a y coordinate. We know m is slope. X is an x coordinate, whichever one you want to use, that goes, it has to partner with the y. The x and y have to be partners. And b is where it crosses the y-axis. Y-intercept, okay? That's where it's up and down, okay? The y-intercept. All right, so let's look at this. I can look at the slope, and I can, all we have to do is write it like this. And remember, when we're writing in slope-intercept form, we just need a number for slope and a number for b, okay? So let's look at this. If I continued this line, there would be a coordinate. If I look at these crosshairs right here, crosshair, crosshair. Okay, so right here is a crosshair, and there'd be a dot here because we said it was linear, a dot here, and then a dot here on the number 2. So right now I know that my y-intercept, my b, is 2. That's where it's going to cross the y-axis. I've got to figure out my slope, so I'm going to leave that blank. Plus, and that is a positive 2 on here. If we look, this is positive 2. All right, so it's a plus 2. If it had been negative 2, we would do minus 2, okay? Now, if I look at my slope, I'm going up 1 over 1. So I would assume my slope is 1. But if I remember correctly, over here, this is going up by 2. So technically, I'm going up 2 and to the right 1. And going up 2 in a positive direction and to the right 1. So if I was going to write it in this form, it would be y equals 2x plus 2. And it wants us to determine the rate of change and the initial value. Okay, the rate of change is 2, the slope, right? Because that's what it's changing, up 2 over 1, okay? So this is a function. I didn't ask that though, but all right. So, or it is not a function, right? If it goes on the y-axis, anyway, or didn't go through 0. Okay, let's go to number 2. All right. So this says the graph shows the total cost for a lawn mowing service to mow a lawn. Determine and interpret the rate of change and the initial value. Then write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. Assume the relationship is linear. Okay, so this is a little bit different on this one, and I'm going to go ahead and erase this, but remember the slope is m and the y-intercept is b. All right. I feel like I'm going to have to figure out the slope, so let's look at this. All right, so this is going up by half. So it's half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. Okay. Then our cost is going up by $10. All right, so we can see this is right under 30, but I'm going to use 2 points on here. I'm going to use 1 and 28 and 2 and 36 to find the slope. So we have 1 and 28 and 2 and 36. Okay, I'm going to find the slope. So it's a change in y. Here's my x and my y coordinates. So it's change in y, y2 minus y1, over the change in x, x2 minus x1. So I'm going to plug it in. So it's 36 minus 28 over 2 minus 1. Okay, 36 minus 28 is 8 over 1. Okay, so my slope is 8. So now we know slope is 8. My slope is 8. Now let's see, where would this cross the y-axis? Well, we need to plug in we need to plug in y coordinates. Okay, so, and we'll solve for b. Let's do 1 and 28 again. So we'll use 1 and 28. And I have to write x and y by that or I get confused. So 28 is equal to 8 times 1 plus b. Okay, so we know 28 is equal to 8 plus the letter b. I'm going to subtract 8 here, and that's going to be 20 is equal to b. All right, so now I can write this in y equals mx plus b form. My slope is 8, y equals 8x plus 20. Okay. All right, so hopefully you don't have a question. This is very similar to what we've already done. Okay, let's look at this. A computer repair company charges an initial fee plus $40 an hour for repair work. The total cost for 3 hours of work is $150. Assume the relationship's linear. Determine and interpret the rate of change and the initial value, then write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. So there's a lot going on here. But not a lot. Okay, so we know that the computer repair company charges a fee, plus they charge $40 an hour. Okay, so we know that our slope should be 40. Should be $40. Okay, because it is $40 per hour. Okay, so that's what is our rate of change. All right, so the total cost for 3 hours of work is $150. Okay, so it would be 3 and 150 would be our XY coordinate. And we want to assume that this relationship's linear. All right, so I'm going to plug in and find B. So I know that this is X and Y. So I know 150 is equal to 40 times 3 plus B. Okay, this is going to give us our fee or whatever. This is where it'll start. Then it's by the hour. Okay, so 40 times 3 is 120 plus B. So I'm going to subtract 120 so I can isolate B. And so I have to come over here and subtract 120 because what you do to the right, you got to do to the left. And I'm left with 30 is equal to B. So if I was going to write this in, it would be Y equals 40X plus 30. Okay, so apparently this computer repair company charges $30 just to come out. And that's pretty cheap, I'll tell you all that, because a lot of places is like $75 just to come out there. So hopefully you have no problems. If you do, just raise your hand and ask me a question.